Hello everyone, thank you for listening to His Dork Materials. I just wanted to take a moment to talk to you today about Anchor.fm. If you haven't heard about Anchor.fm, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Not only is it free, but the creation tools are included that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Hello, everybody. Welcome to His Dork Materials, the His Dork Materials weekly podcast. We are up to episode 5. We have our legs in the air and the sun is beaming down upon our nether regions to
God
I
damn
don't even know how to finish that sentence because it boggles the mind. But today
that's the perfect way to start this off, though.
I think this is going to be the only lightness in this episode because this isn't a happy episode of this show. So yeah, I guess I feel like with this one, it'd probably be better to do your typical story breakdown because a ton of stuff happens, and I feel like it's all pretty. Like I don't think there's a single moment in this that's not.
Hey, you know what I think actually a typical thing that should happen right now is you should say who you are.
We should say our names.
Heather today. So to my beehole exposed, I'm Josh.
God damn it. God, my introduction was going to be that I'm eternally crying, but I guess that's out the fucking window now. I am Jonathan.
And I'm your sobbing, eating ice cream best bro, Heather.
Is the ice cream that
No,
terrible?
It's gone now. It's part of the crying.
Oh, that makes sense.
So yeah, right off the gate, we have some. I'm not a huge fan of voiceover in things, especially like out of the blue in episode 5, because I don't think up to this point we've had any voiceover work done, really. It's not a direct conversation with somebody, but I could be mistaken. If you guys can remember.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either. I feel like there hasn't been anything, and like it's a double whammy because it's somebody saying a prophecy.
Yeah. Even though it is always nice to hear the voice of David Suchet. See, like if they're gonna pick someone to do it, I think they picked the best person in the cast to deliver those lines.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I think, like, to give the writers the benefit of the doubt, I think they're setting up not only people like me and Jonathan who haven't seen or haven't read the books, I should say, and also maybe people that have read the books to kind of hint where things are going forward. Obviously, we're not going to do any book spoilers here because we're just keeping it to what's happening in the show.
Because we've muzzled Heather.
Only because
that's just an hour in itself right there if we try to do that.
Yeah, that's gonna be its own very special episode of the His Dork Materials. But so we get the prophecy. I guess if we have the prophecy now, it won't be a spoiler to ask Heather, is there a prophecy like this in the books at all?
Yes.
Okay, so it is something they've pulled from the source material.
Yes.
That's not so bad then. Like it's a pretty small quibble for me because it only lasts a few seconds.
I find it interesting that they had Kaisa do it, mainly because, and this isn't really a spoiler for anything else, but in the books, nobody directly says the prophecy. We've already heard, actually, this is not the first time we've heard about the prophecy. We heard from the Lord Master?
The Master, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, am I having, wait a minute, I'm having a Game of Thrones moment there? Lord Maester?
Game of Thrones moment?
Yeah.
It was Maester Aemon, right?
Yeah. Actually, back at Jordan College, the Master talked about this already, about how there is a prophecy, and that they think Lyra has a huge part to play, and they've told you one part while this is telling you another part. And so it's interesting because in the books you don't get the prophecy this way. You get it in snippet conversations.
Yeah.
So it's really nice actually to have them be like, here is a huge chunk of it, here's another huge chunk of it.
Because the Master got his prophecy from reading the alethiometer, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. He was definitely looking at it when he was talking to the librarian about it.
Yes, I don't remember if he got it from the. I don't remember if he got it from there or not.
Yeah. So yeah, we meet the very mysterious character. I think that one is Will Perry is introduced into the series. Then we meet Boreal and the creepy dude that he's hanging out with the soul patch, who's peeking on the mom, who I don't know if it's because I was slow, but it took me a while to realize that there was something going on with her, because I definitely did not pick up on that until she starts trying to, and I'm assuming no spoilers because I have no idea, that it's going to come in, she's going to have to break into something, or someone's going to put a computer in front of her and she's going to do the like the weird typing thing that she does on all the stuff. But that could just be me reading too much into it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it wasn't until she got to the school that I realized anything was wrong. I just thought she was really nervous about the random fucking dude coming up and talking to her and being like, I knew your husband. We were friends. And her just be like, yeah, that's fucking cool. I gotta go, though.
Yeah.
That is not where I thought you were going to take this conversation, by the way, Josh. I thought you were going to be like, I don't know if I was just slow, but I didn't recognize her. And I was like, oh, I recognized her immediately. But
he hasn't seen Love Actually.
Oh, I was say, but apparently I watched Love Actually too much.
Oh yeah, I have not seen that. So,
boo.
Yeah, it's headcanon now that after the prime minister's term was up, left the world of politics, that this is what's happening to her now.
Good job. Okay.
She gets married to Andrew Scott, and then he disappears for 13 years.
Yeah, that sounds right. I think that timeline works out pretty okay.
After that, we go back to Lyra, and I'm gonna go out on a limb maybe here and say I think I probably have some advantage with this because I have not read the books, but I think in this episode, Lin-Manuel Miranda has actually won me over a little bit with his Lee Scoresby.
100,000%. I agree. I know that we were softening towards him in the last episode because he and Lyra have a lot of chemistry that work between them, and I think that they just completely doubled down on that this episode.
Yeah. I really like the for those of you that are for some reason haven't watched the episode and are concerned when we're talking about they have the chemistry, they definitely have a brother, big brother, little sister relationship going on.
Yeah.
Not anything weird.
Sexual chemistry comment people.
He's not Drake, so just calm down.
Hey-o.
I think it's really like a fatherly like companionship. He sees her like he very much sees her as a child because she is a
Yeah.
child. And like it's
That's
almost
the best way to see children.
Yeah, it really is.
I would say that I definitely agree. I was watching this episode and just being like, "Damn you, Lin-Manuel Miranda! Don't you dare make me fall in love with you."
You just have to watch Mary Poppins Returns again to dispel that, even though I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the first 5 fucking minutes that we watched and we're like, and done.
Let's see. A lot of really nice. I really loved all the landscape shots in this. A lot of them looked really good. There's a lot of nice. I'm not sure where exactly they filmed a lot of this stuff, but whoever did the location scouting gets an A+, 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
For finding all of the best fields and mountain ranges. I really liked all the pre, like when you're just seeing it from Kai's perspective, and like just the weird patterns on the ground, and then like is almost flipped upside down.
Ooh, it was in Wales.
So that was really good.
Sorry, filming location, by the way, was Wales. They filmed in Wales.
Wales might be a good place to,
go visit. Go walk some fields and hills.
Go weep openly.
I'm just going to say it again. I think we talked about it in the last episode when we had talked about some controversies, which I have not. I think most people are pretty on board now from what I've seen. There's not a lot of controversial opinions being thrown about anymore. But Lucian Masamati, I'm going to say it again. I think he's doing a really great job. I can't imagine watching his performance and being like, this guy sucks, because he's going to get, I think everybody in this cast so far has been 10 out of 10. So, but I just wanted to call him out again because we had discussed that before. And I think this episode really hits it home that, no, he's good.
Yeah, I think this episode really does that with everybody. If I'm being completely honest, like, as good as I think she has been, Daphne Keane has had a couple moments in those first couple episodes where it was like, that was the best take to go with. But this episode, like, everybody's just aces.
Then we get the next great performance, Farder Coram and Serafina. No. Oh yeah.
Yes.
That's not their.
Serafina
I was looking at some. I was doing research earlier and I looked at the wrong person, so that would explain my confusion.
Oh, is that why you were like, she doesn't look anything like her IMDb picture? This is a picture of an old man.
Not that bad, but
okay.
Yeah, I was getting the names confused. Yeah, a pretty brutal conversation to have between these people that haven't seen each other in what must be like 30 or 40 years.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Not
an easy one.
And
yeah, the end of that conversation, I was very much just like, oh, okay, so we're already getting into it, huh? We're just gonna start off with, not just gonna let me have my sads at the end of the episode. I'm just gonna do it right now. Starting off early, huh?
Yeah, I think what I like about this only being 8 episodes is that they don't have any time to dick around, and like they just have to get to it. And like, even though it doesn't feel rushed, like there's definitely, I never get the sense that they're like trying to kill time so they can have 10 or 13 episodes. They're like, nope, 8 is what we need, 8 is what we got, which I think is really strong. case
Did you
for
hear that, Netflix?
Pretty much. I mean, pretty much everybody else at this point is trying to do that. Yeah, so good on BBC. I think that's also like one of the things with having this be a BBC show, and hopefully that sticks around for season 2, because HBO will get involved more with the production. Is like, hopefully they don't try to make it like, well, we need 3 months of subscribers, so let's bump a couple extra episodes in there to pad it out. Because the BBC, they know how much they got, and that's how much they're going to give you. So
that being said, the farther you get into this trilogy, if they continue throughout the entire trilogy, the more complex things get.
yeah.
So I would not be surprised if they added maybe 1 or 2 episodes. I don't think they'll ever need to stretch it to 13 or past that. But I mean, I would not be surprised to see maybe a 9th episode in either season 2, or if they do season 3, season 3.
God willing.
If they don't finish this story, I'm going to be incredibly depressed.
I'm so pissed.
It's like, not again.
All right.
Well,
yeah, we're going to go camp out at HBO's headquarters and just be like,
yeah,
hi. Could you
season 3
do
of this
now?
podcast would have to be us like recreating episodes each week in our heads about what we think.
Yes, I can direct. I can do this.
So yeah, Lyra reads the alethiometer a couple more times. She gets
A alethiometer.
sure gets a message that she needs to go on a little side quest off into the wilderness.
Gotta go get that HP.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as most like in video game terms, like you don't necessarily need to do the side quest. This was not an optional side quest.
Yeah, this was not a random cat sitting in the alley lit up and you were like, maybe that guy wants to talk to me.
Yeah.
This was the zombies drove you to that village. You have to be there now.
Yeah. We get some more backstory with Andrew Scott, and at this point, we're like 63% of the way through the season, and even though we've spoiled Andrew Scott being in this, I'm starting to get the feeling that he's not going to be in it until season 2, because at this point it'll be a pretty late addition, and so but we do get his family. We get a boxing montage real quick, and that's when we find out that
Never mind.
what's that?
Do it.
Is it going to be a book spoiler?
Nothing. Nope.
Spill the tea.
I'm just gonna say that sometimes things that seem unimportant now are important later.
Yeah. Well, because I guess not to beat around the bush too much about it, like they pretty much say at the beginning of this, like him and Lyra are going to be connected somehow. So like they're going to be in some way like complementary to each other, I guess. So anything I imagine that we learn about them will be work along those lines.
Yeah, I said that about I'm pretty sure I said that about something in an earlier episode too. Just don't. This is BBC and HBO. They're not going to put in trivial shit, especially not with an 8-episode series if they don't have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's some sort of mysterious correspondence between Andrew Scott, and I assume what it is him telling the mother's name is Elaine about the city in the sky, I guess, from their perspective. So that's just speculation on my part, because I don't know where this story is going, but I have to assume, since
it's going crazy places.
Since the
I don't know either. Let's speculate wildly.
Yeah. Hey, unlike BBC, we do have to fill time here, so
Yeah.
We get
let's pad this bitch out with as much as we can before we get into the sad meat and potatoes.
Yeah, that's part of it too. Is like by the time we get there, I feel like that's going to completely drain this episode. So I'm trying to get everything else out of the way so that when we get to it, it's we don't have to try to go back and forth. We get some more Yorick, and I'm gonna give a shout out again to Joe Tanberg. I was concerned, but he's doing a real good job with the voice. He's a really cool character, and the one thing that kind of looked wonky to me though was when Lyra is writing him out on like the snow plains.
Phrasing?
She rides him out there. She's on his shoulders.
Yeah, yes, she's riding on him. Yeah, they did not need the close up. Was a bad idea.
Yeah, it looked a little. Yeah, it just looked a little wonky. But anytime you're trying to recreate an outside while you're shooting inside, it's gonna look a little goofy. But it's only a couple seconds, so not a huge deal there.
This was so this scene, or this not scene, but like this portion of the and I to kind of like look at each other and just be like, so where is Pan?
Yeah, he disappears for like 20 minutes in the middle of this show.
And it was like, oh no, don't make the haters right. Like, just fucking animate a little thing of him tucked somewhere. Like, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, like while she's riding on Yorick, I didn't notice it, but when she tries to like snuggle up next to him, and she's like, I can't help it, it's cold, and I was like, well, where the fuck is Pan? What's he doing? He's falling down on the job. It's like that's why you have a little furry, snuggly soul to keep around you at all times. The scene I really liked, and this is kind of going back a little bit, but the scene with Lyra and Ma Costa, I think was really, really good. Like, you realize that Lyra has kind of grown up without any kind of family, and like these people are like, even though she didn't trust them at the beginning of episode 3, like she's quickly like they're definitely the only real family she's ever had, even though she now knows that her parents are both alive, but somehow like it's made them farther away.
Yeah.
So that's fun. That's fun to think about.
That's fun. That's just a great time for everybody involved. No, everything that like Ma Costa does in this episode is just 10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Which we'll get there. Don't worry about it.
They list Cristela Alonso as Hester, but I don't think she actually says anything in this episode. I'm always very aware when the demons are either around or not invisible and or not saying anything.
She's there. She just doesn't say anything.
Because there's a few times when Lee Scoresby is dropping some either knowledge or the opposite, whatever the inverse of knowledge is, and they'll show a close-up of Hester, and you're like, I wonder what she's thinking, because you can tell that he's like trying to spin some kind of yarn about something or other, and she knows it's BS, but
every time they show somebody with their demon, I'm just like, have a conversation, do the thing. I want to see them do the thing.
Yeah,
because even when he's on screen, there's a lot of times when I feel like Pan would have something to say when he doesn't, up until like the point that he does that we'll get to that we're
Oof.
building up to.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say in the last episode, and they almost had me fooled, but well, we'll see if we can get Heather back on the call.
Oh no.
But between the last episode and the first half of this episode, they almost had me fooled into thinking that having a fox as a demon could be a good thing, because Pan's fox form is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But we'll get into why I just don't believe that by the end of this episode. So one of the things that I think is pretty interesting, and this is kind of skipping ahead, but it's not really related to what we'll end up talking about at the end, is that for a lot of the like the henchmen of the, what the hell is the organization called?
The Magisterium?
Yeah, the Magisterium, like all of the henchmen and the guards and stuff, all their demons are just animals. I think that's kind of interesting. I don't know is it like that in the books, or is that just how they're portraying it
I honestly
here?
don't remember.
Yeah. Anyway, I just thought,
Like the fact of like guard dogs.
yeah, they're just barking as a dog would, and not, they don't have like a human vocalization.
I would say human essence to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope we get, which we probably will in the next episode, but I am looking forward to getting some more Lee Scoresby and Yorick together, because I like how Yorick is trying to not be what he very much is supposed to be, and Lee Scoresby like knows what he's supposed to be and is trying to push him that way. So hopefully we get a couple of scenes of that in the next episode, because I like as much as I was worried about it, I think Lin-Manuel Miranda's strength is he's good at working with the other actors, which is not an unimportant aspect of the acting.
Yeah. He also plays really well to things that are not there.
Yeah. Did you guys see the one thing I did see over this last week that they've been putting up on the it's the Demons and Dust Instagram page, has been doing a lot of like behind the scenes stuff, so they'll show a lot of the puppets that they'll use for the reference. So there's a lot of cool stuff on there. They have like and mostly it's like the named characters, so like Pan and Hester, and then I think I know Yorick has one. Those are like the big three that you usually see. So it's pretty cool that they actually had. Oh, and then the Golden Monkey too. Like that one was actually kind of funny, because there's like just a guy in a flannel shirt with like the monkey puppet standing behind it, like doing all the like animating it for the actors and stuff. So that's pretty
interesting.
It's really crazy how that kind of technology has advanced, because like back in the day you'd have to have a guy in like a full green bodysuit so you could take him out of the frame, but now it's just like you can just remove things and you wouldn't be able to tell just by looking at it. I think most of this is definitely just an introduction of the Perry family, because like you meet the characters, you figure out that something is wrong with the mother, and then that there's some sort of secret that she has that she's trying to keep from Will, and we kind of are pulled from the episode before that any of that's revealed. So I think the next couple episodes are going to be much more in depth with those two.
The only thing I will say to that is I'll say it so that Heather doesn't have to, is that I hope they don't get too in depth with those characters quite yet.
Yeah, I think part of the reason why that they're bringing some of that stuff in now is, like Heather said, like the next couple of books are going to have to get really dense. So I think part of that is laying some groundwork so it doesn't have to be episode after episode of just lore dump. Like they're sprinkling it in.
Yeah, I actually thought about it today when these scenes made it more understandable of why they're putting it in this episode. The stuff from the previous episode, some of it irks me that it's in there, but this particular episode and the way that it's happening 100% makes sense because and this is non-spoilery because now it's been in the show. In the beginning of book 2, you get to flashback to Will's life. And so it's interesting that they're actually just showing it when it would be happening with Lyra's life.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like in a lot of books and stuff, you can have like 2 or 3 chapters of flashbacks, or like maybe in like a young adult book, maybe like just one chapter of flashbacks. But in like a TV show, that's very hard to do, like 3 episodes of flashbacks. Yeah,
and it's not exactly flashbacks, it's just us being explained to his story and then it getting caught up to where her story is. And so they're just intertwining them, which is really nice, actually.
Just showing it at
just
showing the parallel.
I kind of want one of those that crop top tread mobile thing that they were driving.
I honestly thought you were going to stop at crop top, and I was like, well, that's a choice.
I was like, I was thinking in my head, who wore a crop top?
No, this isn't that kind of show. But it just popped into my head.
It's real cold out there in the tundra, and they're just like, ooh, I need my crop top. I need my juicy crop top.
Well, and you got to have access for when you're sunning yourself.
Nope. Not going back down that demon path.
But there was a lot of sun out there, so.
You know where there wasn't a lot of sun though, down in the valley in the old
okay, wait,
fishing town.
Before we get there too, because I get to talk about Will now. I'm actually really excited to talk about Will, because Will, as the lovely prophecy has told you, is important. Will is important in a way, and I really like Will's character, and I really like what Will gets to go through. So I'm excited for Will. I'm excited to see more of Will. Yay.
Yeah. Hopefully also, before we get into it, hopefully we get more of the witches, because sky mermaids is a pretty cool design concept. And I also like, I was going to say that I think also part of the reason why they use Kaisa as the narrator at the beginning, because Serafina points out like that they have, I don't know if she said that they've seen it or they're just aware of that there are other worlds out there.
She says they've known for thousands of years.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm sure living that far north, they probably see it quite a bit compared to everybody else.
Also, I'm very interested to see witches again, mainly because I can't tell if she's just floating or if she's skateboarding, because witches traditionally have used brooms, and when he originally says that he's gonna find Serafina, he gives it's a little piece of sky cloud pine. It's a little piece of wood to call to her, and so I'm like, wouldn't that be a piece of her, broom?
Yeah, maybe we'll find
It's
out.
just a little.
So she like
It's just a little like chunk off of her longboard from when she was like shredding out at the skate park.
maybe.
It's grinding the rails,
Well, I
throwing
kind of
off
like
chunks
if you
of wood.
look
Grinding the
at like
rails.
she's kind of just like she stands kind of like off the ledge for a second. Like she's on the ledge and then she's
Yeah.
not on the ledge, and then she kind of does like that like
She's using her
little like
hoverboard.
yeah, it's almost like a surfboard. I just don't. I couldn't tell if she was standing on something, but I'm curious if she is or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't tell either.
Yeah, they I think very smartly as far as using special effects goes, set that scene at night so it is a little hard to see, so it doesn't look too janky.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say it again because I noticed this again, and I think it's very impressive to have dialogue that is intelligible but also sound like the person is talking through a bear jaw, because like it just sounds like that Yorick's voice is coming out of a snout and not like a human jaw. So however they did it, props to the sound design team for doing that. Or if it's just Joe Tannberg having to perform it out, which means he probably has to do either way, because fitting garbage in people's mouths is not comfortable. And also want to a shout out. I don't know if I've said this yet. I think I might have mentioned it before, but every episode that I watch, the main theme it grows on me more and more every week.
Mm-hmm.
Like it does a lot of stuff that's my jam, like the all of like the walk downs and stuff are just, yeah, it it's a banger.
Yeah. Also through this entire episode, like when they were on their little journey to the fishing village with no fish, just every time there would be just like a shot of Yorick doing anything. It was like, I just want to boop his little snoot so bad.
Yeah. Even when he's like eating the seal, just crunching away at it. It's like, oh, eat that seal. Does that mean?
I don't think that's a seal.
Yeah, I was gonna say
that was a reindeer.
It was a reindeer.
Okay. So was that somebody's demon, or are there actual wild animals?
Well, they eat meat pretty often.
Yeah.
In this series.
That is not an answer to that question.
Well, the second you kill a demon, it turns to dust. So
that's true.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think we've preambled around the main event for long enough.
So they Lyra goes to a fishing village. There are no fish. 0 out of 10 would not go there again, and then the show continues. Nothing else happens there.
Yeah, then she's like, well, goes back to camp. Credits roll. Pretty like anticlimactic ending, but can't get them all.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a choice.
But what actually happens though is that they enter the creepy ice fishing village, and I'm sure Heather, having read the book, knew what was going to happen.
I tried to fucking warn you people last week.
But
oh man.
I didn't.
I thought I was going to ruin it for Jonathan. I started to have to hold myself together. So when they look over the edge and they see the village, I immediately reached out and grabbed his hand. And I'm sorry, because I told you I was going to be the worst person to watch this with. And then as she's working up the courage to walk to the door, I started to not be able to contain myself, and I started to like cry a little bit. But it was one of those like I could feel my lip quivering, and I was like, "No, don't you cry! Jonathan's gonna know." Lip quiver, no.
I mean, to be fair, like I'm not an idiot. I knew what was coming.
Did you know that that's what was coming?
Okay, I didn't. I will say I didn't know that she was gonna find him in there with what they very. I'm glad do not focus on the splayed like animal bodies.
Um,
The end, I guess.
um, it also doesn't help that like Pan that has been completely quiet the whole episode suddenly starts doing the little fox whimper and like crying and being like, I don't want to go in there.
Yeah.
And like the
God.
fact that York is like, okay, so clearly Pan's freaking out. I guess what you're looking for is fucking in there. Good
Yeah.
luck.
So Lara busts into this meat locker, I guess, and finds
Which we need to talk about. Oh my gosh, we need to talk about the fact that Lyra didn't just bust into it. Lyra unlocked it. It was locked from the outside.
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah.
fucking locked him in there.
That's a yikes for me.
That's awful to think about, and I hate it. Thanks.
You're welcome.
But yeah, she finds Billy Costa, or at least
Most of
something
him?
of Billy Costa.
The empty husk that once was Billy Costa.
Yeah. So she slaps him on her back and then rides out back to the little camp that the Egyptians have set up, and this is where, with the exception of James Cosmo as Farder Coram, he got his big emotional scene earlier on with Serafina, but pretty much everybody else kind of has to pick up their game for this scene. And I was talking about earlier, Lucien Masmadi as John Fa. Like, he kills it here. Ma Costa kills it. Even Lin-Manuel Miranda actually has like a really good performance here.
Yeah.
And then
when you think it can't get worse, it does.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Good God.
I think in the show, like, this is where they cut back to Elaine, so she can like let the cat in. If I'm not mistaken, that's where this scene is, and she sees the creepy dude sitting outside her apartment.
I think that is after Ma Costa sings to
Okay.
Billy.
Yeah, I think they do like all of the, because they, after Ma Costa pulls him down and like her and Tony are there and Lee is just like, look, Lyra,
They
don't need
love
you to be there right now.
They love you, but they won't want you to be a part of this, because Lee knew.
Yeah.
Lee knew what was going to happen. And I think on a level Lyra did too.
Yeah, and then it was out after that they cut to Ma Costa and Tony in the room by themselves with Billy.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not going to talk about that scene.
I will say that I made the prediction last week that because I knew what was coming. I knew last week what was coming. I told you guys this was going to be a hard episode. I knew that I was going to cry big fat crocodile tears, and I made a prediction last week that this particular moment was going to hit me harder. Now I have not reread these books since Bennett was born, since I became a mom, and while reading the books is pretty awful and pretty heartbreaking at this moment anyways, watching this mom sing her baby to calm him down and then to tell him that it's okay to die and go be with his soul was I'm gonna cry on the podcast. I told you to cry on the damn podcast. Was pretty heart-wrenching. It's heart-wrenching as a human being, but then to know that pain as a mom, like, and to not actually understand fully, because like I've never gone through that, but just to like imagine what that would be like is so gut-wrenching that at the end of this episode I actually walked into our sleeping son's bedroom just to literally hear him breathe for a couple minutes. And that's my sad mom moment for the week. You're welcome.
Should need to come up with like some sort of theme sting to put in there. Yeah, I think so to like jump ahead a little bit.
Yeah, let's.
Well, not too far, because like not out of it, but just forward into it. Because Lee goes and grabs Lyra and like brings her out so that she can, just because she wants to see Billy before like they do their
Funeral pyre?
Yeah. So she goes out and looks at him, and like the thing that gets me with this show is that nobody overplays any of the moments.
Nope.
Because like it could be really easy to have people like gnashing their teeth and like pulling at their hair and screaming and stuff, but like
it's a
full
quiet
melodrama with it.
Yeah,
this is just a quiet grief.
Yeah, because like you know that like these people understand like they don't have like that's too much. They don't have the energy to expend for that. So like the thing that really gets me is that like everybody's trying not to be too over about it. So it's like, because to me, like, you know, being openly like wailing and stuff is that never gets me. It's like when people try not to be, and like I can read that and I'm just like, oh man, that's depressing, because there's no like catharsis or anything about it. It's just all you have to save it for later. And then they sing their song and light the whole thing on fire.
So this was the interesting flip to me, is that this moment where they light it on fire, they sing the song, and then it flashes to Elaine, and this is when she's really having her panic, and it flashes to Will, and Will, who's in his bed and sleeping and clearly having what could be portrayed as a nightmare. He's clearly uncomfortable in his sleep. He's kind of twitching. He's got rapid eye movement. He's clearly not dreaming something happy here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was curious what they were kind of hinting at with that, I guess.
Well, and I think it goes back to the prophecy at the beginning that these two are tied to each other. So they're hinting, I think, at a tie.
Yeah, that like he can kind of feel how distraught she is at that moment, and so he's also feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that scene is followed by a scene that I was not expecting at this point in the show. Is you have a couple of not, I guess, masks. Like they have got weird masks on and like big hoods that cover their whole bodies, and they just start running through and start taking out all the Egyptians that they see.
It's only 3.
I guess that's that we see. I don't know how many. I'm assuming that it's not more, because like you were led to believe that it wasn't like an all-out assault. Like they were just going in there to, maybe they don't realize who these people are and what they're coming there to do. So that'll be interesting to find out. But
I think they're just raiding camps looking for kids.
Yeah.
And anybody that they come across, they're just like, well, we got to take out that person now. So I don't think they're like hunting the Egyptians specifically.
Yeah. And then we get to this, and we get to the moment that made me go, yeah, you know what? No foxes for my demon. No, thank you. Because then we get the blurry.
The damn fox with the damn squirrel again. Like, could we just not with the fox and the squirrel again, guys?
Yeah.
Come on. We just
Was that a fox? I thought that was a wolf.
It was a white Arctic fox, I do believe.
I think it was the one from the first two episodes again.
I don't think it was the same one as the first two episodes.
No, because that one was like brown and black.
It was brown and black.
Oh,
this was a full-on white Arctic fox who's hunting a goddamn squirrel. And if I didn't need to cry anymore, thank you for the symbolism of Ratter, who was a fucking squirrel at the time that they were captured. Thanks for that. I didn't need that in my life after you just did this to me. Thanks.
Honestly, like watching that scene of it stalking that guy's demon, I was like, oh, okay. I don't like where the possibility of this is going, of like
the fox jumping on the squirrel. Chomp.
Yeah, just like chomping it and like taking the dude out that way. It was like, I don't need to see that right now. I'm not on board. Just unsubscribe. Like I'm about to nope out of this if that's where that goes.
Yeah, they don't go with that route. They probably do what is. I don't know. Well, yeah, I don't know in the lore of the show which is worse, if you have your demon get killed and die that way, or to die, then have your demon disappear. So maybe we'll find out in the show.
Maybe
going forward.
Maybe.
And then,
I mean, but getting your neck snapped while you're taking a whiz, that's just rude.
That's rude. I'm like, could you let the man pee? Like, jeez.
Done with your wang out.
Now he's just laying in his pee.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully
he just fell straight down into it.
Hopefully they turned him over and pulled down his pants so he can actually get some sunlight when the sun comes up the next day.
Yeah.
Get a little Josh Brolin action.
With some oh, God. We'll fix you up real
That's enough
good.
internet for the two of you today. Thank you very much.
Jesus Christ.
I don't know. I just feel like this year's going to get stupider before it gets over. But
yeah, I mean, there's only so many days left, and geez, it just keeps going.
Keeps ramping up. Fortunately, we have our two shows to get us to the end of the year.
Woo.
So we got something to look forward to before everything comes to an end.
We get to look forward to Lyra being in Bollinger.
Oh yes, I definitely look forward to that.
Yeah, which we'll get into after we do the Clooney's, because I remembered to watch the scenes from next week's episode.
Oh, good.
Hey, bang.
Yeah, I was literally just about to say that, and then I was like, nah.
God, I need to stop saying that. I feel like I don't know where it came from.
You know what?
I just started saying it.
Bennett doesn't say it yet, so you're fine.
That's fair. What? He says some other things
though.
He's just upping his swear game. It's fine.
Yeah, it's all good. So Lyra, Pan alerts her that something's wrong, and so she gets up to check it out. And the next surprise of the episode, there's like two really quick surprising things happen to her back to back. The shadow man runs up behind her and takes a big old swing, and a quick cut to black. I was
quick bonks on the head. Quick bonk.
Yeah. I was like, oh, credits. But nope, we get a little bit more.
Yeah, I thought there was going to be credits too, and I was like, "Fuck you, show."
They've already done that, didn't they? The first time she got captured, Lyra's really bad about getting captured.
She's not great. But then she wakes up. We get an interesting POV shot of her being carried through the, what's the camp called?
Bolvanger.
It's a bowl of anger.
Bowl of anger.
Yeah, there you go.
And this is where we get all the shots of the dogs being dogs and guards being guards. She gets
fun tidbit real quick. So as Heather and I do, we watch everything with. So we got to know that the guards specifically were speaking Finnish.
Oh, and when I was on IMBD, it lets you know that the guards are speaking native Finnish when they're like when they've taken her in and you get to see her. Versus the doctor who is not speaking native Finnish.
Oh,
interesting.
Fancy that.
Yeah. Did like the POV style as they bring her in to the like weird check-in area, I guess.
Yeah. Then we get some. I think Bowl of Anger is just gonna be real creep town the whole time they're there.
Oh God,
it's gonna be a real bowl of anger.
Yeah, because like everything from the, I think the thing that I thought was like, you don't want to get any like sociopathic. What's the term I'm looking for? Just like, now I can't think of what that area is called. Anyway, that whole general area of Finland and Sweden. The fuck is that? There's a term for that area.
Have you just lost it over there?
Bavarian?
No, that's a specific place. It's
that's specific, yeah.
Nordic, I guess. It's close to one.
Yes, they're Nordic people. What about them?
Well, I was gonna say, like, anytime that I've never seen a non-creepy Nordic doctor in my entire life in any sort of TV show or movie, so like, it's always going to be a bad time. They always have weird ideas of what the human body is capable of withstanding.
Yeah.
So it's always bad. It's always bad times when that comes. And then Lyra gets pulled into a processing area, and then we get some, like, the first uncomfortable scene where Lyra has to get changed into the big puffy bodysuit. And I was like, fortunately, like, everything's just from the shoulders up, so there's no danger town.
No creepy factor for all the rest of us.
Yeah.
Did you just say Danger Town?
Yeah. It's keeping out of Danger Town. It's right next to Flavor Town.
There.
You don't want to take the wrong exit.
Ooh. No.
But it is creepy because we know that only bad things happen when you get into Bowl of Anger.
Yeah.
Are
we saying that right? Because I kind of hate it now that it's just Bowl of Anger.
It's not really
fucking
Bowl
hate
of
that
Anger.
now.
It's Bowl of Anger. Bowl of Anger.
Bowl of Anger.
Bowl of Anger.
Bowl of Anger. Okay,
Bowl
thank you.
of Anger.
Bowl of Anger.
Bowl.
Okay,
Bowl?
I couldn't remember if that extra syllable was actually in the middle of it or not. No, not that part.
Oh.
The before that we were adding.
Oh yeah.
We don't pronounce things correctly around this.
Correct, right. Weird.
God, especially when they're like.
Weird side note. Dr. Connor, because of course we read everything with lovely subtitles, so I know that's what her name is. Dr. Connor.
Hell yeah.
In this show, being of the female persuasion, is not a female doctor in said book.
Just injecting more of that SJW bullshit into my TV.
Just want to let y'all know.
Our IMDb has her listed as Dr. Cooper, or is that somebody else?
Nope, Cooper, not Connor.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, Dr. Cooper is male in the book.
I feel like that things are going to happen where they don't need that level of creepiness.
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, knowing the book, knowing the book, I'm intrigued with that choice because I think it will make certain things different, and I'm excited about that.
Yeah, because like it's gonna be bad enough already. Like we don't need another layer of terribleness on top of that.
Yeah.
So yeah. Clooney's for this week. I'm just gonna be my regular vanilla self, and I'm gonna give this one. I'm gonna give it a 9 for having the voiceover at the beginning, but then I'm gonna add a 0.5 for the performances, and just end at a 9.5.
Jonathan?
Shit. What am I gonna give this episode? I'll give this a solid 6, I guess. But yeah, I just wasn't really feeling it.
I hate that you're not in the same room as me, so I can't fucking throw something at you right
now. Oh shit! I'm choking on my own rage over here. Jesus Christ!
I promise, guys, I'm not actually in the same room choking him. He's choking on his own.
Yeah, just sprinted in here and started choking me. No, this fuck. I would say it for a different reason. I would say it's a 9 because. No, I would say it's an 8 because Pan disappears for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But it gets bumped up to a 9.5 for proving to you assholes that I'm not a goddamn android.
Heather, what do you got for us?
Well, first off, as your book resident, I know where Pan is for those 20 minutes, so it doesn't really bother me that I don't see him on screen because Pan's actually a mouse in her hair, by the way.
That's I want to see that though, so that's even worse.
He's a little mouse inside of her fur coat because she literally is snuggling up against the giant bear because it's so cold, guys. Where is Pan gonna be? The smallest he can be, hiding somewhere adorable. So Pan's in her hood. He's a little mouse in her hood, which is why he's gone. This episode gets a 10 for me, which I have never given a 10. I know. I knew that this was going to be a rough episode for me. And I also knew what was going to happen. And so I had this feeling in the back of my head where I was like, oh my gosh, because I know what's going to happen, like, am I still going to be touched by it? Like, is this still going to be something that gets to me? And they did it so beautifully and so heart-wrenchingly, soul devastatingly well that it obviously needs a 10 from me because I sobbed for like 10 minutes and like I literally just couldn't talk. I'm trying to talk about the episode while not crying, and I don't think I'm still there yet. So I am so absolutely unbelievably pumped about this show. I have been since the beginning. I am gonna go on record and say this is probably, just with these 5 episodes, this is one of my favorite things on television ever so far. And this episode just hit every right note. It made me stop questioning why they're doing certain things that were out of order for me. And now I'm like, okay, I'm on board with you. I get where you're going. I get why you're doing this. Let's go. I'm ready. So it gets a 10.
Cool. For those of you that do not want any spoilers for next week's episode, thank you for listening. Don't forget to check out for Jonathan just reminded me today for our international audience, who is quite a significant number of our listenership. It's about a quarter of our listeners are international, and I don't think any of you have Disney Plus yet. But while I would never encourage anyone to pirate any sort of Disney Plus shows named The Mandalorian, if you were to do so, maybe check out our Mandalorian breakdown episodes. They're usually, it's pretty much just us talking about how much we love Baby Yoda. So if you want to hear
like
that,
the rest of the internet.
yeah. So it's essentially the Baby Yoda podcast at this point, and I don't think it's going to change up until maybe even next season. So yeah.
If it does, we write it on Disney, just so everybody's aware.
Yeah. We'll congregate. We'll march on the lot.
Yeah. So if you have seen The Mandalorian, check out our other show we're doing on this channel, because those are it's much lighter tone in those episodes. We're having a lot of fun over there. If you are a fan of Star Wars in general, don't forget to check out our Moist Boys podcast right now, especially because we are doing all of the theatrical released live action Star Wars films. We are just about to release The Last Jedi episode. We are doing all the episodes in release order. So we're almost caught up.
That's like 2 more, and then we're at the big one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
The weekend of the 20th. That episode will not be recorded until probably 5 minutes before I put it up online, because we are going to be recording and releasing the episode about The Last Jedi. Not The Last Jedi, The Rise of Skywalker.
Right, there it is.
We're pretty much going to see it, talk about it, and release that episode, hopefully all at once, as long as there are no technical difficulties. So,
which means there will be all the technical difficulty.
Yeah, there always is.
Yeah. Also, as long as we don't talk about it for 4 hours,
which might be the case, because I think there's going to be a lot of feels going on that one.
What, us with feels? Never. Nobody feels anything here.
No.
So
we're
yeah,
all androids.
Get hyped for that, and then we have a third podcast called the Action Boys Podcast. It is on kind of a hiatus at the moment. There's one episode that might get released or will get released at some point, but that one is a little harder to do because there's a lot more involved for a lot less content, I guess would be the best way to put it. It's where we play some role-playing games and have a lot of fun, but I've kind of put a lot of expectation on myself with that one, so it's kind of plus there's been some illnesses and all kinds of fun stuff so that one's a little bit on hiatus, but we're going to hopefully start that up in the new year, and a lot of fun stuff planned for that if it all works out. You can help us make it all work out, though, if you head on over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/moistboyspodcast. I'm going to be updating that, putting some interesting goals in there, maybe some sick stunts that we can do to encourage people to sign up. But mostly it's about being able to get us to make better content, because while I think what we're doing is fun now, we can improve, and with your help, we can do that. And then I started doing a new thing, a little bit easier on the old schedule. I've been putting up some reviews. If you search for Moist Boys Reviews, it's on Google, Apple, Stitcher. It's on all the major platforms right now. But it's essentially movie reviews of more current films and less deep dives than we do on the regular podcast. Each episode is under 10 minutes, so something that you can listen to quickly. And yeah, that's an interesting project that I've started, and things are evolving all the time on that one, so you can check that out. So thank you for the non-spoiler listeners. Thanks for hanging out. But for the rest of you, let's get into some more fifis about what's going to come up next week.
Speaking real quick about Fifi's, I noticed I was doing a thing during the episode where once I don't remember exactly when I noticed that I was doing it, but basically once Lyra started like walking up to the shed and discovering Billy inside of there, I kind of noticed that on the inside of my mouth where that little area like where your lips meet together, I was just chomping down on that and just holding it. Just like
Trying to hold in your screams.
A little bit, yeah. Like, and I know I definitely started doing it again once they got back to the camp and everything. Like that whole scene was like, I wonder if this is some sort of tactic to where if my lip hurts real bad, maybe I won't feel things.
That checks out.
Spoiler alert, that did not work.
So yeah, next week the goddamn, I've already forgotten her name.
Miss Coulter?
Yeah, Miss Coulter makes a return in what I'm assuming is going to be a big way. I think for those of you that have not watched the movie, I think there's going to be a couple of scenes in here that they pulled for the movie and combined some stuff together, but I think it's going to get a lot darker than the movie ended up getting. Because, yeah, they're putting Lyra in the box.
The boo box.
Yeah.
Pull down on my hook references.
Insert the gif of Meryl Streep booing that's been going around the internet for the last few years. Yeah, I think things are going to get pretty dicey for Pan coming up. No spoilers, but I have an inkling things are going to get worse before they get better.
Oh, definitely. God, I was talking to who was I talking to earlier today about this? I think I was talking to Heather about it, but I was also talking to Kyle earlier today because we were kind of talking about the show, and I basically was just like, man, I'm so glad that aside from one scene that I know is coming up in one of the last two episodes, I do not remember that movie at all. Because I feel like I would just be doing that, like, not as a conscious decision, but I would be doing the playing the comparing game a lot. I feel like if I remembered stuff from the movie and just be like, oh, that's how they're doing it in the show instead of doing it that way. Oh, that's interesting. Like, I'm very glad that as much as possible, I am going into this just blind.
Yeah, and I think there's enough difference too that it'd be harder to do a 1-to-1 comparison because I think they've just changed so much they changed so much for the movie to make it fit into an hour or 2 hours and 2.5 hours or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But in this, like, they're definitely like, you're getting all the stuff, like you get the Billy Costa stuff, you get the Egyptian stuff. And I feel like that was definitely not part of the film experience from what I can remember, at least not to this degree. So, yeah, we're going to get some hospital/prison scenes. The Nordic doctors are going to get worse before they get better.
Some more creepy nurses. Yeah. Definitely not ruining any fantasies with that one.
I can't wait for you guys to know why they're so creepy.
You can't say shit like that.
I have theories based on partially based on what they've shown, especially with Miss Coulter. That's her name, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Like there's some stuff that they've like laid some breadcrumbs with Miss Coulter and her demon. I assume is part of what's going on, and then
I don't think that it's the same thing.
yeah, but then like with the Billy stuff, I think they've definitely all of the Billy crumbs. Wait, that's a bad.
Oh God.
I guess there's a lot more Billy crumbs now than there were at the beginning of the episode.
Oh.
Nope, hanging
Oh.
up my headphones. I'm fucking done.
Nothing but crumbs left.
Yeah, I think I have an eye, and I think I vaguely remember something that might play into that from the movie that might have hinted at, but I'm not like of all the movies that I haven't seen since back then. That's probably the one I remember the least, or like splitting the difference of knowing that I saw it but not remembering it at all, hardly at all. Especially considering that was one of the few movies growing up that we actually saw in theaters, which was not a thing that we did a whole lot back then. But
wait, you saw it in the theater?
Yeah, I want to say yes.
I didn't see it until we rented it.
It might have been that. It was a long time ago. Folks, we're old.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
The movie's old. We're old. Yeah. Any final words before we pack it in for this week?
I'll just say that I am super excited to have anxiety while watching this show.
I'm fucking stoked.
Only 3 more episodes, and I feel like each episode has ramped up the story and like what's happening exponentially, and I think it's only going to increase up through episode 8. And I can't even imagine what season 2 is going to be like. So that's going to be it's going to be a good watch.
Yeah.
It's also funny that the His Dork Materials episode ratings on IMDb like don't even have a full season yet, and there's still people are already ranking the episodes, and I feel like I'm not going to be able to do that until the last episode comes out for this season. And then even then, it's probably going to be just the release order is the order. Or like the ascending order is going to be. Anyway, you know what I mean. I think they're just getting better every week. So I think that's going to be the order that they're going to end up in.
I feel like we had a slight dip on like episode 3, but. Or maybe I'm mixing up.
Maybe episode 2 is kind of like a bottle episode where she's just like hanging around the apartment for a while.
Yeah.
So maybe flip those 2 around because like the premiere was so much to do, and then that was a little bit slower. But ever since like after she broke out of Miss Coulter's apartment, it's just been like even though the characters aren't running around, like the story's just coming at you hard and fast. So.
Mm-hmm.
So, definitely worth the HBO subscription for this show. I don't know if there's going to be anything else after this one, finales, that I'm going to be needing to do. But if there is, I'm sure we can turn it into a podcast to justify the cost of having HBO.
There you go.
Because
nothing like justifying the cost of a thing by doing a thing for free.
Exactly. Content is its own reward or something along those lines. Holy crap. This is our longest episode yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'll do us for this week. For those of you that are watching The Mandalorian along with us, we'll get you back again on Friday. when we catch up with Baby Yoda and his further adventures through space and or time. For everybody else, we'll catch you on Monday, episode 6. Final episode countdown headed up. Thank you all for listening. We'll catch you next time.